Taemin Park sat in his small apartment, staring at the rain that fell against the dome shield above New Seoul. The water never actually touched the city anymore. Everything was protected now, sealed away from the natural world. He sometimes wondered if that was better or worse. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago. The star charts on his desk remained unfinished. This always happened. On the anniversary, 22 years since the accident. 22 years since his mother died. The doorbell chimed. Taemin didn't move at first. He wasn't expecting anyone. His friends knew to leave him alone today. But the bell chimed again. More insistent this time. He stood and walked to the door, pressing the panel to open it. What he saw made him step back in shock. A creature stood in his hallway. It was tall, maybe 7 feet, with scales that shimmered blue and green under the corridor lights. Its eyes were large and golden, with vertical pupils like a cat. It wore some kind of uniform, gray and practical, with a bag slung over its shoulder. Taemin Park? The creature asked. Its voice was strange, hissing slightly. But the Korean words were clear enough. Yes, Taemin managed to say. His heart was pounding. Aliens had been visiting Earth for 10 years now, but he'd never met one face to face. Most humans hadn't. I am Velthar of the Krell, the alien said. I have a delivery for you. It is very important. The creature reached into its bag and pulled out 2 items. The first was a crystalline device, about the size of a fist, glowing softly with internal light. The second was an envelope. An old paper envelope, yellow with age. Taemin's hands shook as he took them. The envelope felt real, solid. Nobody used paper anymore. Nobody except. Who sent this? He asked. I was not told the sender's name, Velthar said. Only that it must reach you. My people were paid well to ensure its delivery. The coordinates in the crystal device are included. I have fulfilled my contract. My Kreis Night 9. Kromstended. 9 Sing. Gross spy. The alien turned to leave, then paused. The one who sent this said you would not believe at first. She said to tell you that she still remembers the song about the whale and the moon. She said you would understand. Taemin's legs nearly gave out. The whale and the moon. His mother used to sing that to him every night. She made it up herself. Nobody else knew that song. Wait, he called out. But Velthar was already walking away, its footsteps heavy in the corridor. Taemin stumbled back into his apartment. His hands were shaking so badly, he almost dropped the envelope. He sat down on his couch and stared at it for a long time. The handwriting on the front was in Korean. His name, written in the careful, flowing style his mother always used. He would recognize that handwriting anywhere. He had copies of her old notes, kept in a box under his bed like precious treasures. This was her handwriting. But that was impossible. She died 22 years ago. The colony ship Times, Eternal Dawn Times, had disappeared in uncharted space. 3,000 people lost. The government held a memorial service. He still had the folded flag they gave him. His fingers tore open the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, also yellowed. The ink was slightly smudged in places, as if the writer had been crying. My dearest Taemin, it began. My little star. That nickname hit him like a punch to the chest. She used to call him that. Always. My little star. He kept reading, tears already forming in his eyes. I know you think I'm dead. I'm so sorry. I'm alive. I can't explain everything in this letter. There isn't time. And some things are too dangerous to write down. But you need to know the truth. Humanity is in danger. Terrible danger. Something is coming. Something that wants to destroy us all. The Krell can be trusted. They're one of the few species trying to help. I've been working on a way to save Earth, to save everyone. But I need you. Please come find me. The coordinates are in the crystal device. I know this is hard to believe. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But Tae-min, I love you. I have always loved you. Not a day has passed that I didn't think about you. Come find me. We don't have much time. Your mother, Haejin. At the bottom, in Korean characters, she had written Umma, Mom. Tae-min read the letter 3 times, 4 times. He held it up to the light, looking for signs of forgery. But he knew paper, knew ink. This was real. This was old. Someone had written this years ago and kept it preserved, and the handwriting. He pulled out his tablet and called up images of his mother's old research notes, archived from before the accident. He compared them side by side. Perfect match. Every curve, every stroke, even the way she dotted her characters. This was either written by his mother or by someone who could forge her handwriting with impossible precision. The Whale and the Moon. Nobody knew about that song. He'd never told anyone. It was private, sacred, a memory he kept locked away. Tae-min picked up the crystal device. It felt warm in his hand. He turned it over, studying it. There was a small port on one side that looked compatible with standard data readers. He connected it to his computer. The device activated immediately, projecting a holographic star map into the air above his desk. A route appeared, winding through known space and then beyond, into an area marked in red, the fractured veil. Tae-min's blood went cold. Every spacer knew about the fractured veil. It was a region of space filled with anomalies, gravitational distortions, energy storms. Ships that went in never came back. It was considered a dead zone, forbidden by most spacefaring races. And according to this map, that's where his mother was. He sat back, his mind racing. This could be a trap. It could be someone using his grief against him, luring him into danger. Pirates sometimes did things like that. Or worse. But the letter, the song, the handwriting, what if it was real? What if his mother was alive? Tae-min stood and walked to his bedroom. He pulled the box from under his bed and opened it. Inside were her things. A scarf that still somehow smelled like her perfume. Her old reading glasses. A photo of the two of them at the beach, before his father left, before everything fell apart. He was 7 in that picture, gap-toothed and grinning. And her research journal, the one she kept at home. He opened it, flipping through pages of equations and diagrams. Her theories about faster-than-light travel. About shortcuts through space-time. People had called her crazy. Too ambitious. She said there were ways to move through space that nobody had discovered yet. Then she took that job on the colony ship. She said it was a chance to test some of her ideas, to see deep space up close. She promised she'd come back. She promised. And then the times, eternal dawn times, vanished. Tae-min made a decision. He didn't know if this was real or not. He didn't know if he was about to walk into a trap, or chase a ghost, or discover something impossible. But he had to know. He had to try. He picked up his communicator and called Da-eun Kim. She answered on the 3rd ring, her face appearing on the screen. She looked tired. Tae-min, are you okay? I know what day it is. I need your help. He interrupted. I need a ship, a crew, and I need to go somewhere very dangerous. Can you help me? Da-eun stared at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. Just slightly. When do we leave? Da-eun Kim looked at the star map and whistled low. You're joking. Tell me you're joking. They were standing in a private docking bay on the edge of New Seoul's spaceport. Around them, ships hummed, and workers shouted in a dozen languages. The smell of fuel and ozone filled the air. I'm not joking, Tae-min said quietly. The fractured veil, Da-eun said, shaking her head. Tae-min, that's suicide. Nobody comes back from there. Nobody. My mother is there. Your mother is dead. Da-eun's voice was gentle, but firm. I'm sorry. I know this is hard. But whoever sent you this, they're lying. They're using your pain against you. Taemin pulled out the letter and handed it to her. Da-eun read it slowly, her expression changing. She looked at the handwriting, then at Taemin, then back at the letter. The song, Taemin said. About the whale and the moon. Only she knew that. Only her. Da-eun was quiet for a long time. Finally, she folded the letter and gave it back. If this is real, if there's even a chance this is real, we'll need more than just us. We'll need an engineer. Someone who can keep a ship running through anything. I was thinking Junho Lee, Taemin said. Da-eun smiled. Good choice. Subin Choi, medical and xenobiology. If we're going into unknown space, we might need someone who understands alien environments. I'll make the calls, Da-eun said. Meanwhile, we need a ship. Something small, fast, and tough. I know a dealer who owes me a favor. VD. F. 2 days later, they stood in front of the Times Starbound Hope *. She wasn't beautiful, but she was solid. A scout ship, 30 meters long, with engines that could outrun most pirates and shields that could take a beating. Da-eun ran her hand along the hull with something like affection. She'll do, she said. Junho arrived that afternoon. He was younger than Taemin remembered. Only 29. With a prosthetic arm that moved with fluid precision. He'd lost the original in an engine explosion 3 years ago. Now he was one of the best engineers in the system. You're serious about this? Junho asked, looking at the coordinates. Yes, Taemin said. Junho shrugged. Okay, I'm in. Life's boring anyway. Subin came last. She was older, 42, with gray streaks in her black hair and eyes that had seen too much pain. Raiders had killed her family 6 months ago. Since then, she'd been taking any job that kept her busy, anything to avoid thinking. Dangerous mission to unknown space? She said, reading the brief Taemin had prepared. Possible first contact with hostile forces. Low chance of survival. She looked up at him. When do we leave? They launched at dawn. Earth fell away beneath them, blue and white and beautiful. Taemin watched through the viewport until it was just a dot. Then, nothing at all. The first week was routine. They passed through busy shipping lanes, dodging freight haulers and passenger liners. Da-eun piloted with easy confidence, her hands steady on the controls. Junho spent most of his time in the engine room, making small improvements. Subin organized the medical bay and studied what little data existed about the fractured veil. Taemin sat in the navigation station and stared at the star map. The route his mother had provided took them through known space for 2 weeks, then into the frontier territories, then beyond, into nothing. Tell us about her, Subin said one evening. They were all in the common area, eating dinner. Your mother. Taemin set down his fork. She was brilliant. Too brilliant, maybe. She had these theories about space travel that nobody else believed. She said there were shortcuts, hidden paths through space that we hadn't found yet. Other scientists laughed at her, but she believed it, Junho said. She knew it, Taemin corrected. She said the universe was bigger and stranger than we imagined. She said one day we'd discover things that would change everything. He smiled sadly. I thought she was just being optimistic. Maybe she wasn't. And your father? Gone. Left when I was 8. Mom never talked about why. After he left, it was just the two of us. Taemin's voice grew quiet. Then she took the job on the Times Eternal Dawn *. She said it was too good to pass up. A chance to study deep space. To test her ideas. She promised she'd come back in 2 years. But she didn't, Da-eun said softly. The ship vanished. No distress signal. No debris. Nothing. Just gone. 3,000 people. The government said it must have hit an anomaly. Been destroyed instantly. They held a memorial service. They gave me a flag. Taemin laughed bitterly. I was 12 years old. They gave me a flag and told me to be proud of her sacrifice. The table was silent. If she's alive, Subin said finally. If she's really out there, we'll find her. They crossed into the frontier territories in the second week. The shipping lanes ended. The space stations grew sparse. They passed through systems where humans had barely explored, worlds with names on maps but no colonies, no research outposts. The silence was heavy. Getting anything on sensors? Da-un asked. Taemin checked his screens. Negative. We're alone out here. But they weren't alone for long. On the 15th day, they found the debris field. It appeared on sensors first, a scattered cloud of metal and plastic drifting in the void. Da-un slowed the ship to a crawl as they approached. What is that? Junho asked. Coming up from the engine room, Taemin enhanced the image. His breath caught. That's a colony ship. Look at the hull markings. They drifted closer. Pieces of the ship floated past their viewports. A section of hull with windows. A twisted piece of engine cowling. A children's toy. Frozen and spinning slowly in the vacuum. Can you identify it? Subin asked. Taemin ran the markings through the database. The answer came back, and his hands started shaking. It's the Times Eternal Dawn asterisk. Everyone turned to look at him. You're sure? Positive. These are the registry markings. This is my mother's ship. Access. But this is nowhere near where it was supposed to be, Junho said, pulling up the official reports. According to the government records, the Times Eternal Dawn Times was lost in the Theta sector. This is at least 50 light-years away. So either the records are wrong, Subin said slowly, or someone lied about where the ship disappeared. They spent 2 hours searching the debris field. Most of it was too damaged to tell them anything. But then, Junho found something. Over here, he called over the radio. He was in a spacesuit, floating near a large piece of the ship's command section. There's a data recorder. Might still have information. They brought it back to the Times Starbound Hope Times and connected it to their systems. The data was corrupted, but Junho worked on it for hours. Finally, fragments started coming through. Got something, he said. Audio logs from the bridge. Listen, a voice crackled through the speakers. A man. The captain probably. Speaking in tense, clipped sentences. Not a malfunction. Someone changed our navigation. We're way off course. Trying to correct, but static. Unknown ships following us. They're not responding to hails. Not pirates. Don't know what they. More static. Attacking. All hands to emergency. The log ended. Someone sabotaged them, Da-un said. Changed their navigation to bring them out here. And then someone attacked them, Subin added. Taemin felt cold. But some of them survived. They must have. My mother survived. Maybe, Da-un said. Or maybe whoever wrote that letter was on one of the attacking ships. Before Taemin could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Contacts, Da-un shouted, running for the pilot's seat. Multiple contacts, closing fast. Taemin pulled up the sensor display. 6 objects were coming toward them. Moving fast. Too fast to be natural. What are they? Subin asked. The objects came into visual range. They were drones, sleek and black, covered in weapons. They didn't match any human design. They didn't match any known alien design either. Automated defenses, Junho said. Someone left them here to guard the debris field. Can we outrun them? Taemin asked. Maybe, Da-un said, her hands flying over the controls. Hold on. The Times Starbound Hope Times leaped forward. The drones followed, firing weapons that lit up the darkness. Energy bolts flashed past the viewport. One hit their rear shield, making the whole ship shudder. Shield at 60%, Junho shouted. Da-un threw the ship into a roll, diving under a piece of debris. 2 drones smashed into it, exploding. but the others kept coming. I can't shake them, Daun said. Then we fight, Taemin said. He activated the ship's weapons, small plasma cannons meant for defense. He targeted the nearest drone and fired. The bolt hit true. The drone exploded in a flash of light. 3 left, Subin called out. It was close, desperate. Daun flew like she was possessed, weaving through debris while Taemin fired at anything that moved. Junho rerouted power to shields, keeping them alive by seconds. Finally, the last drone fell. Torn apart by plasma fire, they floated in silence, breathing hard. Everyone okay? Da-eun asked. Chorus of affirmatives. Those things were guarding something. Junho said. Someone doesn't want people looking at this debris field. Then we're on the right track, Taemin said. He pulled up the star map. The coordinates his mother sent were still 2 days away. Let's keep going. Into the fractured veil, Daun said quietly. Into the fractured veil. Taemin agreed. None of them said what they were all thinking. That they might not come back. That this might be a one-way journey. But they went anyway. Because sometimes, hope was worth dying for. The fractured veil lived up to its name. Space itself seemed broken here. Through the viewport, Taemin watched reality twist and bend. Stars stretched into long streaks of light. Gravity pulled in impossible directions. The ship groaned and shuddered as Daun fought to keep them on course. This is insane, Junho muttered, watching his instruments go crazy. Physics doesn't work right here. The readings make no sense. Stay on the coordinates, Taemin said. My mother got through this. We can too. They flew for 6 hours through the nightmare. Twice they nearly hit spatial anomalies that would have torn them apart. Once the ship spun completely around, when gravity suddenly reversed. Subin threw up in a bag. Even Daun looked pale. But slowly, the chaos began to fade. The instruments started making sense again. Stars returned to their normal appearance. We're through, Daun said, relief clear in her voice. Ahead of them was something impossible. A wormhole. But not like any recorded in the databases. It was small, barely visible, shimmering like heat waves over hot ground. Natural camouflage. That's it, Taemin said, checking the coordinates. That's where we need to go. A hidden wormhole in the middle of the fractured veil, Subin said. No wonder nobody ever found it. Daeun took a breath. Here we go. They entered the wormhole. Light bent around them. For a moment, Taemin felt like he was being stretched across the universe, pulled thin like taffy. Then it stopped. They emerged in a new system. Oh my God, Junho whispered. Before them was a massive gas giant, swirling with purple and blue clouds. And orbiting it, close enough to be warmed by tidal forces, was a moon. A green moon, with oceans and clouds and everything that meant life. Scanning for settlements, Taemin said, his hands shaking. The sensors showed nothing for a moment. Then they lit up like a Christmas tree. I'm reading structures. Lots of structures. Power signatures. This moon is inhabited. Getting a hail, Daun said. Audio only. In Korean. She put it on speaker. A man's voice filled the bridge. Unidentified vessel. This is Haven Colony. State your identity and purpose. Haven Colony, Taemin repeated. He activated the comm. This is the scout ship times Starbound Hope * out of Earth. We're looking for Haejin Park. She sent me coordinates to find her. Silence on the other end. Then, stand by. They waited. Taemin felt like his heart might explode from his chest. A new voice came through the speakers. Female. Older. Familiar. In a way that made his throat close up. Taemin? Is that really you? He couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Taemin, it's me. It's your mother. I'm sending you landing coordinates. Please come down. Please. I've waited so long. Taemin found his voice. Mom? Yes, baby. Yes. Come home. The landing was a blur. Taemin barely remembered Da-un bringing them down to the surface. Barely noticed the settlement that spread out beneath them. All he could think about was that voice. His mother's voice. The ship touched down on a landing pad. Through the viewport, Taemin saw buildings. Real buildings. Constructed from local materials. Gardens. People walking around. Human people. The airlock opened. Taemin went down the ramp on shaking legs. She was there. Standing 20 feet away. Older. Her hair more gray than black now. Lines on her face that hadn't been there before. But her eyes were the same. "Mom," Taemin said. Hyejin Park ran to him. She was crying, laughing, both at once. They met in the middle, and she threw her arms around him. Taemin held her tight. This woman he thought was dead. This ghost made real. "You came," she sobbed. "You actually came. I was so afraid you wouldn't believe the letter. I was so afraid." "I'm here," Taemin said. "I'm here. You're alive. You're really alive." They held each other for a long time. Around them, a crowd had gathered. Other humans. Watching with smiles and tears. Some of them, Taemin recognized from old photos. Passengers from the Time's Eternal Dawn, **. Finally, Hyejin pulled back. She touched his face, like she couldn't believe he was real. "Look at you," she said. "You're all grown up. You're a man now. I missed so much. I missed everything." "What happened?" Taemin asked. "Where are we? How are you alive?" "Come," Hyejin said. "I'll explain everything. Bring your crew. They deserve to know too." They walked through the settlement. It was bigger than Taemin first realized. Thousands of people lived here. The buildings were well made. Permanent. This wasn't a temporary camp. This was a real colony. "How many people?" Subin asked. 8,412. Hyejin said. "From 4 different colony ships. All supposedly lost. All deliberately brought here." They reached a large building at the center of the settlement. Inside was a meeting room. Hyejin gestured for them to sit. Other people joined them. Colony leaders. From the look of them, men and women with serious faces. 22 years ago, Hyejin began. The Time's Eternal Dawn Times left Earth. We thought we were going to establish a colony in the Epsilon system. But someone changed our navigation. We ended up in the Fractured Veil instead. "Who?" Taemin demanded. "Who did it?" "A group within Earth's government called the Preservation Council. They've been operating in secret for 40 years. And they did it because they discovered something terrifying." Hyejin activated a holographic display. An image appeared. A ship. No, not a ship. Something alien. Geometric. Wrong. "They're called the Silencers," Hyejin said quietly. "An ancient intelligence. They've been in this galaxy for millions of years. And they have one purpose: to prevent any species from becoming too advanced. Once a race reaches a certain level of technology, the Silencers exterminate them." The room went cold. "That's insane," Da-un said. "Why would they do that?" "We don't know. Maybe they're protecting themselves from competition. Maybe they're following some ancient programming. It doesn't matter. What matters is that they're real, and they're coming for Earth." "The Preservation Council knew about this?" Junho asked. "They found evidence 40 years ago," another colony leader said. "A man named Kiwoo destroyed alien civilizations. All of them wiped out at similar technology levels. Always by the same geometric ships. The Council tried to warn Earth's government, but the government didn't believe them. Thought they were crazy. So the Council acted alone." Hyejin continued. "They started diverting colony ships, bringing them here, to this hidden refuge, saving who they could. We weren't the only ones. 3 other ships made it. Together, we built this." She gestured around. "Haven. Colony." Taemin felt dizzy. "You're saying Earth doesn't know?" about any of this. About the silencers. The government suppressed all information. They thought it would cause panic. Meanwhile, the silencers kept getting closer. Now they've found us. And Earth has maybe 6 months before the extermination fleet arrives. Why didn't you contact me? Taemin asked, anger suddenly flaring. Why let me think you were dead for 22 years? Pain crossed Heejin's face. Any communication could have led the silencers here. We had to stay hidden. Completely hidden. For years we built in silence. Developed in secret. It was the only way to survive. I was 12 years old. Taemin said, his voice breaking. I was a child. I mourned you. Every day. I mourned you. I mourned you. Every day. I know, Heejin whispered. I mourned you too. Every single day. But Taemin, I wasn't just protecting one child. I was protecting thousands. All the children here. All the families. It was an impossible choice. Show him, Kiwoo said quietly. Show him what we've built. Show him what we've built. They took them on a tour. Taemin walked through laboratories and workshops, seeing technology that shouldn't exist. New, faster-than-light drives based on quantum folding, weapons that could disrupt energy shields, materials science decades ahead of Earth. We didn't just survive, Heijin explained. We knew we couldn't just hide forever. So we worked. We researched. We took everything we knew about physics and pushed beyond it. We studied the silencer technology, from wrecks we found. We learned. In one lab, scientists were testing a weapon that fired concentrated quantum bursts. Taemin watched it tear through a target shield. Like paper. Earth's weapons can't touch the silencers, Heejin said. Their shields absorb everything we have. But these quantum weapons? They work. We've tested them. How? Da-un asked. How do you know they work? Because the silencers have sent scout ships here. Small ones. Testing our defenses. Heijin's voice was hard. We destroyed them. Every single one. Raider. We five. They reached an overlook. Below them, the colony spread out. Gardens and homes. Schools. A playground where children ran and laughed. Normal life. Carved out in a hidden moon at the edge of nowhere. This is what we're fighting for, Heejin said. Not just survival, but the future. Humanity's future. And now? Taemin asked. What happens now? Now we go back to Earth, Heejin said. We bring them the truth, the technology, the proof, and we prepare for war. Because the silencers are coming. And if we don't stop them, humanity ends. The government will suppress it again, Subin said. Just like before. Not if we make it impossible to suppress, Heejin said. That's why we sent for you, Taemin. You work for the space agency. You have access, credibility, and you have the one thing that matters most. What's that? You're my son. And you're proof that they lied. About the ships. About everything. You're the key to exposing them. Taemin looked at his mother. At this woman who had sacrificed everything. Who had let her own son think she was dead so that thousands could live. There's something else, he said quietly. Something you need to tell me. About my father. Heijin's face went pale. How did you know? Because I know you. And I know he wouldn't have just left. What happened to him? She took a shaky breath. He found out about the Preservation Council. About their plans. He was going to expose them. They killed him, Taemin. Made it look like an accident. I only found out after I arrived here. The world seemed to tilt. They murdered him. Yes, and they'll murder anyone else who threatens their secret. That's why we have to do this right. We have to bring proof they can't deny, evidence they can't suppress. Taemin stood silent for a long time. Then he nodded. Tell me what we need to do. The plan was simple on paper. executed in reality, was something else entirely. We need two things, Heijin explained, standing before a holographic display in the colony's command center. First, we need to get the quantum weapons technology to Earth. Second, we need undeniable proof of the Preservation Council's conspiracy. And where is that proof? Taemin asked. In the Council's main facility, a hidden station called Black Site Gamma. It's in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. That's where they coordinate everything. That's where they keep their records. Daun let out a low whistle. A black site. In the asteroid belt. That's going to be heavily defended. It is, confirmed a colony security chief named Juan. We've been monitoring it for years. Automated defenses. Probably a garrison of at least 50 soldiers. And if they realize what we're doing, they'll destroy all the evidence before we can get it. So we split up, Junho said. Some of us take the technology to Earth. The rest hit the black site. Heijin nodded. Exactly. Daun and Junho. You'll take the Times Starbound Hope Times back to Earth with colony representatives and prototype weapons. You'll need to go public immediately. Broadcast everything. Make it impossible to suppress. And the raid on the black site? Subin asked. That's for volunteers, Heijin said. It's dangerous. Very dangerous. Taemin, I don't want you on that mission. Too bad, Taemin said immediately. I'm going. They killed my father. I'm going. Heijin closed her eyes. I was afraid you'd say that. They spent 3 days preparing. Daun and Junho worked with colony engineers, loading their ship with quantum weapon prototypes and technical documentation. They also took 12 colony representatives, scientists who could explain the technology to Earth's military. Taemin trained with the strike team, 15 colony soldiers, all veterans who had fought off silencer scouts. They taught him how to use the quantum weapons, how to move in zero-gravity combat, how to breach a secured station. Subin insisted on coming too. You'll need a medic, she said, and someone to help identify the right data. I can do both. The night before they left, Taemin found his mother standing alone in a garden, looking up at the stars. He sat down beside her. I'm sorry, she said quietly. For all of it. For leaving. For not finding a way to contact you. For asking you to risk your life now. You did what you had to do, Taemin said. I understand that now. You saved thousands, but I lost you. I lost 22 years with my son. They sat in silence for a while. Tell me about him, Taemin said. About Dad. The truth. Heijin took a shaky breath. Your father was a journalist. Investigative. He was brilliant at finding connections others missed. That's how he discovered the Preservation Council. He found financial records, hidden budgets, classified reports. He put together that something big was being hidden, and they killed him for it. He was going to publish. He had evidence. Not all of it, but enough to start asking questions. The council couldn't allow that. Tears rolled down her cheeks. They rigged his car, made it look like brake failure. He died instantly. You were so young. I told you he left us because I thought that would hurt less than the truth. Did you know? Before you got on the Times Eternal Dawn, asterisk? No. I found out here, years later. The council leaders eventually told us. They said your father was a hero, that his sacrifice helped protect the greater mission. She laughed bitterly, as if murder could be justified like that. Taemin took her hand. We're going to expose them. For Dad. For everyone they've hurt. Just come back alive, Heijin whispered. Please. I can't lose you again. They left at dawn. 2 ships this time. The Times, Starbound Hope Times, headed back toward Earth, loaded with hope and technology. The other ship, Silent Arrow *, was a stealth corvette designed by the colony, Taemin, Subin, and the strike team aboard. The journey took a week. They moved carefully, using the corvette's advanced stealth systems to avoid detection. As they got closer to the inner system, they saw signs of normal human activity: trade ships, patrol vessels, Mars colony transmissions. "Feels strange," Subin said. "Being back in human space, like we've been gone for years. We've seen things nobody else has," Taemin said. "We know the truth now. That changes everything." They approached Black Site Gamma from the shadow side of a large asteroid. The facility was built into the rock itself, nearly invisible unless you knew where to look. A small station, but heavily armed. Juan studied the sensor data. 3 defensive turrets, shield generator, probably automated drones inside. And I'm reading life signs. 53 of them. How do we get in without alerting them? Taemin asked. "We don't," Juan said grimly. "We hit hard and fast. Disable the turrets, breach the hull, get to the data core before they can destroy it. We'll have maybe 10 minutes once they realize we're here." 10 minutes, Subin repeated. "That's cutting it close. It's what we've got." They donned combat suits. The colony's design was lighter than Earth military gear, but stronger. Taemin checked his weapon, a quantum rifle that hummed with barely contained energy. "Ready?" Juan asked. "Ready," Taemin said. He wasn't. Not really. But he'd come too far to turn back. The Time's silent arrow times dropped stealth and accelerated hard toward the station. Alarms immediately blared inside Black Site Gamma. The defensive turrets swiveled and fired, but the colony's weapons were faster. Quantum pulses slammed into the turrets, overloading their systems. They exploded in flashes of white light. The station's shields flickered and died. "Breaching!" Juan shouted. The corvette slammed against the station's hull. Magnetic clamps locked them together. Shaped charges blew a hole in the station's armor. Air rushed out. The strike team poured in. Inside was chaos. Station personnel scrambled for weapons. Automated drones deployed from ceiling hatches. Taemin fired his rifle on instinct. The quantum burst caught a drone, and it disintegrated. The strike team moved like water, flowing through corridors with practiced efficiency. They'd trained for this, knew the layout from stolen blueprints. But theory was different from reality. The station's defenders fought back hard. Plasma bolts filled the corridor. 2 colony soldiers went down. Subin dragged one to cover, already working to save him. "Keep moving," Juan ordered. "Data core is 3 levels down." They fought their way deeper. Taemin's rifle got hot from repeated firing. His suit's shield took hits that would have killed him. Around him, soldiers shouted, fired, advanced. It was terrifying and chaotic, and he was more scared than he'd ever been. But they reached the data core. It was a large room filled with servers and quantum storage devices. Everything the Preservation Council had hidden for 40 years. At the center was a control terminal. "Get to work," Juan ordered. Half the team formed a defensive perimeter. The other half scattered, connecting data modules to begin the download. Taemin ran to the terminal. His hands shook as he activated it. Files appeared. Thousands of them. Personnel records, financial data, communication logs, and video files. He opened one at random. A recording from 30 years ago. Council members sitting around a table, discussing acceptable losses and necessary sacrifices. They were talking about diverting colony ships, about letting people think their loved ones were dead. "We're preserving humanity," one of them said on the recording. "History will vindicate us." Taemin felt sick. "Got company," one of the soldiers shouted. "They're bringing heavy weapons." "How long?" Juan demanded, looking at Taemin. "The data is massive. At least 5 more minutes." "We don't have 5 minutes." An explosion rocked the room. The station's defenders had brought a breaching charge. Part of the wall blew inward. Soldiers in black armor poured through. The firefight was brutal. Quantum weapons against plasma rifles. Colony soldiers against council security. People died. Tae-min saw a soldier next to him take a hit to the chest. The man dropped, dead before he hit the ground. Subin was behind cover, her medical kit forgotten, firing a rifle she'd picked up from a fallen soldier. 3 minutes, Tae-min shouted. The download was at 70%. Then he saw movement from the corner of his eye. One of the station personnel had gotten to a control panel. The man's fingers flew over the keys. He's trying to wipe the servers, Tae-min screamed. Hwan tried to turn, to shoot, but he was pinned down by enemy fire. The man's hand moved toward a large red button. Tae-min didn't think. He ran, crossed the open space in 3 strides. The man saw him coming, smiled grimly, and pressed the button. Tae-min tackled him. They went down hard. Around them, the servers began to spark and smoke. The deletion program was running. "Stop it!" Tae-min shouted, slamming the man against the floor. "How do I stop it?" The man just laughed, blood in his teeth. Too late. It's all gone. Everything. The council wins. Subin appeared beside them. She pushed Tae-min aside and jammed something into the man's neck. He went limp. "Help me!" she shouted. They dragged him to the terminal. Subin forced his hand against a biometric scanner. "Override the deletion. Now." The man was fading. The drug Subin had given him was too strong. But his eyes flickered to the terminal. His lips moved. 7, 4, Alpha, 9. The deletion stopped with the servers at 30% capacity. A third of the data was gone. But 2/3 remained. "Download complete," someone shouted. "Fall back," Hwan ordered. "Everyone out." They ran. The station was falling apart around them. Fire suppression systems had failed. Smoke filled the corridors. More council soldiers blocked their path. Hwan threw a quantum grenade. The explosion cleared the way. They reached the breach point. Most of the strike team was already through. Tae-min helped Subin climb up. Then he followed. Behind them, the station's remaining defenders fired desperately. One shot hit Tae-min's leg. His suit's shield stopped it, but the impact spun him around. He grabbed the edge of the breach and hauled himself through. The time's silent arrow times disengaged and burned away from the station at maximum acceleration. Behind them, Black Site Gamma's emergency systems finally kicked in, sealing the breach. But it was too late. They had the data. Tae-min lay on the deck, breathing hard. Around him, the strike team did the same. They'd lost 5 soldiers. 3 more were badly wounded. But they'd succeeded. "We did it," Subin said, laughing and crying at the same time. "We actually did it." Tae-min looked at the data storage device clutched in his hand. Everything the Preservation Council had hidden. Proof of their lies, their murders, their conspiracy. His father's death was in here somewhere. His mother's pain. The truth about thousands of families who thought their loved ones were dead. "Now we show Earth," he said. "We show everyone." Earth's broadcasts lit up like fireworks. Da-eun and Jun-ho had done their part perfectly. The moment the Times' Starbound Hope Times entered communications range, they transmitted everything. The colony's existence, the quantum weapons technology, the silencer threat, and most importantly, the data Tae-min's team had stolen from Black Site Gamma. Every screen on Earth suddenly showed the truth. Government officials caught on video discussing acceptable sacrifices, financial records showing billions diverted to secret projects, lists of colony ships deliberately sent to hidden refuges, and the names, thousands of names, people who had been declared dead, but were actually alive. The world went insane. Tae-min watched it happen from the Times' silent arrow times as they raced back to Earth. News channels showed riots in major cities, government buildings surrounded by angry crowds, military units refusing orders as they realized their own families might be among the lost. The Preservation Council is trying to deny everything, Subin said, watching a live feed. A council spokesman stood before cameras, claiming the data was faked, but nobody believed him anymore. Look at this, Juan said, pulling up another feed. It showed the United Earth Assembly in emergency session. Representatives screaming at each other, fists pounding tables. The government is collapsing. Good, Taemin said coldly. They deserve to collapse. But 3 days after the broadcasts, something else appeared on the sensors. Something that made everyone forget about politics and riots and corruption. The silencers had arrived. They came out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Their fleet was massive. Hundreds of ships, each one the size of a city. Geometric shapes that hurt to look at. Perfectly symmetrical, alien, in a way that made human minds recoil. They transmitted once. Just once. The message played on every human device, simultaneously. Your time ends now. Then they began moving toward Earth. The planet's military scrambled. Every ship, every weapon, every defense platform went active. Admirals issued orders. Soldiers took positions. Humanity prepared for war. Taemin and his team reached Earth as the first battle began. They watched from orbit as human ships engaged the silencer scouts. Missiles launched by the thousands. Plasma cannons fired at maximum power. Nuclear warheads detonated. Nothing worked. The silencer shields absorbed everything. Every weapon humanity had spent centuries developing was useless. The geometric ships didn't even slow down. They just kept coming, methodically destroying every human vessel in their path. Taemin watched 3 Earth destroyers die in 30 seconds. Just gone. Torn apart by weapons that seemed to unmake matter itself. We're going to lose, a young pilot whispered nearby. We can't stop them. Yes, we can, Taemin said. He activated communications. This is Taemin Park to all colony vessels. Where are you? Taemin. Static. Then a voice he recognized, his mother's voice. We're here, Heejin said. Haven Fleet is entering the system now. 20 ships emerged from faster-than-light travel. Colony vessels, built in secret over 22 years. They looked different from Earth's military ships. Sleeker. Strange. They moved with purpose toward the silencer fleet. All Earth forces, Heejin transmitted on open channels. Fall back. We're using quantum weapons. They work differently. Get clear. Some Earth commanders listened. Others didn't. Too shocked, or too proud, to take orders from civilians. Those who stayed paid for it. The colony ships opened fire. The weapons didn't look like Earth's. No missiles, no bright plasma. Just pulses of twisted space-time. Like reality hiccuping. They hit the silencer ships, and something incredible happened. The shields failed. For the first time in the battle, silencer vessels took damage. Hull plates cracked. Systems sparked. One small scout ship actually exploded. Torn apart from the inside. They're vulnerable, someone shouted. The quantum weapons work. The quantum weapons work. The silencer fleet reacted. They'd been advancing in a steady line, confident and unstoppable. Now they scattered, reforming into a defensive pattern. Return. Fire intensified. Colony ships took hits. Their shields held better than Earth's, but they weren't invincible. One vessel, New Dawn, lost power and began drifting. Another, Freedom's Light, took a direct hit to engineering. It exploded in a ball of fire, but the colony fleet kept fighting. They moved with coordination. Earth's military couldn't match. Every ship knew exactly where the others were, exactly what they were doing. They'd trained for this for years. All Earth forces. Heijin transmitted again. If you have quantum weapons we provided, use them now. Target the larger ships. We'll handle the scouts. The Times Starbound Hope Times joined the battle. Da-un flew like she was possessed, weaving between silencer fire. Junho had installed prototype quantum cannons. They weren't as powerful as the colony ship's weapons, but they worked. Taemin's Times Silent Arrow Times dove into the fight too. It was a stealth ship, not meant for direct combat. But Huan didn't care. They picked off silencer scouts, hitting and running, staying alive through pure skill. The battle raged for 6 hours, space filled with debris, burning ships, bodies. Both human and silencer vessels died. The colony fleet lost 7 ships. Earth lost dozens. But slowly, impossibly, the silencer advance stopped. They couldn't just sweep through anymore. Humans were fighting back. Humans were hurting them. Then the silencer command ship did something unexpected. It pulled back from the battle and began broadcasting. Not a message. A signal. Calling for something. "What is that?" Subin asked. Huan checked the sensors. His face went pale. "It's a beacon. They're calling more ships. A lot more ships." "How long?" Taemin demanded. 3 hours. Maybe 4. That changed everything. Humanity had managed to hold off this fleet. Barely. But more? They couldn't survive reinforcements. "We need a new plan," Heijin transmitted. She sounded exhausted. "We're not going to win this by fighting ship to ship. There's too many of them." Taemin stared at the tactical display. The silencer fleet was reforming, preparing for another push. Behind them, their command ship kept broadcasting that damned signal. An idea formed. Crazy. Desperate. Probably suicidal. "I have a plan," he said. "But nobody's going to like it." 20 minutes later, he was explaining it to every ship captain in the system. Earth commanders. Colony leaders. Even some Krell vessels that had arrived to help. They all listened, in stunned silence. "You want to do what?" Da-un asked. "Sever their network," Taemin said. "The silencers operate as a hive mind. All their ships are connected. That's their strength. Perfect coordination. But it's also a weakness. If we can disrupt that connection, they become individuals. Vulnerable. How do we disrupt it?" An Earth admiral demanded. "With a quantum disruption device." The colony developed prototypes. "We get one close to the command ship, right at their network's central node. It'll crash their entire fleet's coordination." "Get it close how?" Heijin asked quietly. Taemin could hear the fear in her voice. She already knew. "Someone flies it in. Manually. Gets past their defenses and deploys it at point-blank range." Silence on the channel. "That's suicide," Huan said flatly. "The command ship is surrounded by their best defenses. Nobody could get through. Thanks for watching. With Hedmont and C1. With Rasum. A small ship could," Taemin said. "Something fast. With good stealth capabilities. Like the Times Silent Arrow **. "No," Heijin said immediately. "No. Taemin. No. There is no other way. You know that. We have 4 hours before reinforcements arrive. This is our only chance." The channel erupted in arguments, people shouting over each other, some agreeing, some refusing. But Taemin barely heard them. He was looking at Subin and Huan, at the crew of the Times Silent Arrow **. "I'm not ordering you," he said quietly. "But I'm doing this, with or without help." Huan studied him for a long moment. Then, he nodded. "Okay. But I'm flying. You work the device." "I'm going too," Subin said. "Someone needs to arm the device properly." "That's me." "This is insane," Da-un transmitted from the Times Starbound Hope **. "Taemin, you'll die." "Maybe," he admitted. "But if we do nothing, we all die anyway. At least this way. We die fighting." His mother's voice came through, breaking. "I just got you back. I can't lose you again. Please. Taemin. Please. Mom," he said gently. You taught me something. You sacrificed everything to save thousands. You let your own son think you were dead because it was necessary. Now, I understand. One person's life doesn't matter compared to billions. You showed me that. That's not what I wanted to teach you. Heejin sobbed. I wanted you to live. To be happy. Not to throw your life away. I'm not throwing it away. I'm spending it. On something that matters. Isn't that what you always said? That we should spend our lives on things that matter? He could hear her crying, hear the sound of her heart breaking again. But she didn't argue anymore, because she knew he was right. They prepared the device. It was small, about the size of a backpack, but incredibly complex. Subin went over the arming sequence 3 times. Taemin memorized every step. The times silent arrow times launched. Just one small ship against an armada. They engaged stealth immediately, disappearing from sensors. Juan flew with every trick he knew, weaving through the battle, avoiding detection. Behind them, the rest of the fleet launched a coordinated attack, drawing the silencer's attention, creating chaos, giving Taemin and his crew a window. They got close. Closer than should have been possible. The silencer command ship loomed ahead, massive and geometric and wrong. Its shields shimmered with stolen energy. 30 seconds to optimal deployment distance, Subin said. Her voice was steady, scared but steady. Taemin activated communications one last time. Mom, can you hear me? I'm here, Heijin whispered. I love you. I understand now. Everything you did. Everything you sacrificed. I'm proud to be your son. I love you too, so much. You were always my little star. Always. Alarms blared. The silencers had detected them. Their command ship's weapons turned. Energy built up. Preparing to fire. Now, Juan shouted. He threw every bit of power to the engines. The times, silent arrow times, accelerated hard, straight toward the command ship. They hit the shields. The ship shook like it might tear apart. But the quantum device created a tiny breach, just big enough. They punched through. Taemin armed the device. Subin set the timer. 30 seconds. Silencer weapons fired. One shot hit the engine. The ship started spinning. They were dead in space, 20 meters from the command ship's hull. Can't control it, Juan shouted. Taemin didn't hesitate. He grabbed the device, ran to the airlock, and cycled it. The outer door opened. Space yawned before him. What are you doing? Subin screamed. Making sure it works. Taemin jumped. He flew through space, the device clutched to his chest. The command ship's hull rushed toward him. He hit it hard, magnets in his boots locking on. All around him, weapons tracked his movement. 20 seconds. Taemin placed the device against the hull, right where Subin said the network node would be. 15 seconds. He activated the final sequence. The device hummed. Building power. Reality around it began to warp. 10 seconds. He looked back. Saw the times silent arrow times drifting. Saw the whole battle spread out across space. Earth. His home. Hanging vulnerable in the distance. 5 seconds. He thought of his mother. His father. All the people on Haven Colony. All the billions on Earth who would never know his name. Humanity doesn't quit, he said to the void. We never quit. The device detonated. It wasn't an explosion. Not exactly. It was a wave of twisted quantum energy that rippled out from the command ship. It passed through every silencer vessel in seconds, and their connection died. Suddenly, the silencer fleet wasn't one mind. It was hundreds of individual ships, all confused, all suddenly alone. Their perfect coordination vanished. They collided with each other, flew in random directions, became chaos. Human ships, guided by shouts of joy and disbelief, pressed the attack. The quantum weapons tore through the now vulnerable silencers. One by one, the geometric ships fell. The command ship, its network node destroyed, began to list. Its shields flickered and died. A dozen colony ships concentrated fire on it. The massive vessel broke apart, fragments spinning away into the void. The silencer fleet retreated. Those that could still move jumped to faster-than-light travel and fled. Those that couldn't surrendered or self-destructed. Humanity had won. 3 years later, a memorial stood on Earth. A massive wall with thousands of names. People who died in the battle. Soldiers, pilots, civilians caught in the crossfire. Near the top, in letters of gold, was Taemin Park's name. Hae-jin stood before it, flowers in her hand. She came here every week, placed fresh flowers, told her son about the world he'd saved. Everyone. Retapslaner. Everyone. Every taps. We joined the coalition, she said quietly to the memorial. 8 species, all united against the silencers. They're still out there, but we're ready now. We fight together. The Krell, the Ven, even species we'd never met before. All because of you. Because you proved humans don't give up. A young cadet approached her. A girl, maybe 19. She saluted, awkwardly. "Excuse me," the cadet said. "Are you Dr. Park? Hae-jin Park?" "Yes," Hae-jin said. "I'm starting training next week. For the Defense Fleet. My instructor said you knew Taemin Park. The hero. I was wondering, are the stories true? Did he really fly alone into the Silencer command ship?" Hae-jin smiled, tears in her eyes. "Not alone. He had help. But yes, he did. Would you like to hear about it? About the boy who loved the stars?" The cadet nodded eagerly. "Sit down then," Hae-jin said. This story starts 22 years before the battle, with a colony ship called the Time's Eternal Dawn *, and it starts with the hardest choice I ever had to make. Above them, human and alien ships patrolled together. Earth was no longer isolated, no longer vulnerable. They had allies now, friends, and they had a purpose. They were the species that had been marked for extinction, the species that was supposed to die quietly. Instead, they fought back. They changed the rules. They inspired others. They were human, and humanity, against all odds, had survived.